So why are the tags named the way they are? So here I have an H1 tag. Why does it named this way? So H1 means heading level 1, and there's heading level 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then why is the paragraph tag named P? P for paragraph, right? And then the image tag, it's named this way. And all of this feeds into something called semantic markup. So the browser interprets these elements and it reads them and renders them on the page. And the way that it does that is it has its own internal way, and each browser has this, of taking whatever the current HTML spec is, and it has a way of rendering those things. So every H1 should be rendered in almost pretty much the same fashion, whether it's Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, or whatever browser you're using. The more you use these HTML tags, the more semantic the markup is and the more meaning it has. Now, when HTML5 came out, they added additional tags that were structural, but also had some meaning behind them. For example, this header is all by itself right now, but that could be put into an actual tag called header so that it would make more sense. And then we could put this p tag in the image tag and this other p tag and another element might be called section, or you might put it into an article tag. And there's also a footer tag. So let's take a look at these. So first of all, one HTML5 tag that got added is a tag called main. Now, the main tag, people that build websites generally have a container that holds all of the body content together. The body tag itself can do this, but there are specific styles that you might want to treat the body with, but there are separate styles that you might want to treat the main with. And so there's a new tag called main, and that main tag can be used to give some structure to the page. Now for this heading tag, this heading up at the top here, I could put this inside of a header tag, and I'll just close the header tag. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this and I'm going to cut that and then I put it into the header section. Now I'm ordering the HTML the way that I want to, but you'll notice there that CodePen is trying to kind of format things the way it wants to. So it's doing some indentations. Now, are these indentations necessary? They're necessary for organizational purposes, so that we can see the layout a little bit easier and we can see how things are organized. So this header section can have its own appearance now because it has those elements inside of it. Like I was saying before, all of this content could be put into something like an article tag. And then I can close the article tag at the end of all this content. And then I can just take this. I'm going to select all the elements that are inside. I'm going to hit the tab key a couple times, just push them over just a bit. So now I have an article, I have a header, and I have a main tag. And now let's say that I wanted to put in a footer here. So if I put in a footer tag, and I would put something in here, typically it would be maybe a copyright at copy, and copy. That's a HTML entity that will produce the copyright symbol. And I'll say 2021 NECC web design, and then I'll close that tag. So now I have some structure, more structure to the page. Now within the article, an article can have another tag called an aside. The aside could be, if you're reading a newspaper, you might have a main story, and then you might have a story that's related to that story to give it more color. and that would be in a sidebar, and an aside could be something like that. So there's an aside tag as well. The section tag could surround this entire area, the header, the article, and the footer, and that would be all one section. So if you look at a website like the Boston Globe, so if I go to bostonglobe.com, it will have its own sections, and you can see here how those sections are broken up. So each one of these modules could be one article with all of its corresponding elements. This could be another article. This could be another article, right? And it has all this HTML structure to it. If you wanted to see how the Boston Globe is doing this, there's two ways. I can right-click here. I can choose Inspect, and that will give me the HTML elements. So here I'm seeing it's a div with a class. So they're using divs to structurally put their articles together. They're using the HTML5 tags. They're doing it a different way. But these HTML5 tags will allow us to give more structure to the page. And then the advantage of that is how we can use those, and we can select those items with CSS and then give them some features. So for example, now down here, I can say that for the main, I want that to be in the center. And I'll use the trick that I had before. And the main needs some width, I believe, in order for me to do this. So I'm going to just say width is 50%. And then that will center that on the page. But remember that it's 50%, so we can't see the beginning and the end. So to see the beginning and the end of this, I'll just add a background color. And the background color, I'm going to give it as white. So now we can see the beginning and the end and see how it's centered. Now, let's say that I want to give it some breathing room. So I can add some padding. And I'll add some generous padding here. I'll add 20 pixels of padding. And you notice how the padding spread out there. If I wanted to give it a margin, I could do that if I wanted to. And then let's say that we want to target the header. So I'm using the header selector. And then for the header, I want a lot of space between the header and the next element on the page. So rather than using the universal padding element, which is what I'm doing here, I'm going to target just the padding on the bottom. So if I say padding dash bottom, and I say 40 pixels, that'll add more space to the bottom section there. And we can go down on the page and we can do all kinds of different things. Like, for example, the footer. Let's say that I wanted the footer to be black for whatever reason, or let's say not black, but let's just give it some padding. Padding on the top is 50 pixels. Padding on the bottom is 60 pixels. So that'll give it more room on the page. So now we're starting to see what we can do in terms of putting some structure to the page in a visual way using these new HTML tags that HTML5 affords us. So that's one way you can start moving things around. But there's more advanced ways to move things on a page, and we'll get into that in a later video. But for right now, we're giving more structure to the page, and these are semantic tags that have meaning. And for a screen reader, it'll read these sections in a specific way, in a specific order. And that's a good thing. So we want to take advantage of these tags, and we want to use these tags. So one thing about HTML, we can't make up our own tags. We have to use a predefined set of tags. So how do you know which tags to use? So there's a lot of different resources online. There's W3 Schools is one place. There's SidePoint.net. There's CSS tricks.com. But here I downloaded something, the ultimate HTML5 cheat sheet. So it has all of these different tags, and you can see what they are, and it gives you a definition of each one of them, like the body tag, BR for breaking lines, Q for a short quotation. This will be a good resource for you to have, and you can look it up. Just the ultimate HTML5 cheat sheet, and then you'll have a reference for all the tags. Now, for CSS, there are CSS cheat sheets as well, and those are going to be really important because CSS is how you style a page, how you give it a look, like this background color here, like the font that we chose, like the width and height of the images. All these properties and values are really key in terms of making a page look a specific way.